introduce you. That'd be great. Thank you so much for coming in.
How are you? Good to see you. Yeah.
It's so great.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carla Lineback, and I'm the president of the organization known as Morningside Shelter, and I am so thrilled to have you here. So many people from our community. Welcome. Welcome to those we serve. Welcome to our present and past staff members, present and past board members of Morningside Shelter and the Brattleboro Area Drop-in Center. Thank you to all the very many community supporters and donors. It's very touching to have you all here for such an exciting day. So let me tell you why we're here. For the past 3 years, Morningside Shelter and the Brattleboro Area Drop-in Center have been exploring ways to work more closely together, to collaborate, to see how we can become a stronger organization. And in that process, we started talking about a merger. Through that process, we learned something that despite what our math teachers might have taught us, that 1 + 1 actually can equal 3 or more than 2. And we are absolutely convinced that this merger is going to help us do more together than we could have done or we have been doing separately. We're convinced of that. We have received feedback from donors, from stakeholders, from local, state, and federal government, and everyone in the community. The most common response has been, of course, that makes so much sense. On Tuesday, the boards met, and we have had unanimous consent from the boards and the staff to merge, and Tuesday was that epic day. Today you'll hear a little bit about our plans as a new organization. You'll hear comments from Paul Dragon from the Office of Economic Opportunity, Whitney Nichols, Connie Snow of the Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, and also we are pleased to have Kate Ash here from Senator Leahy's office. We'll also have an opportunity for questions and answers, and I'm sure that we have many questions. First, I'd like to introduce, and it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Lucy Fortier and Josh Davis, Executive Directors of the Brattleboro Area Drop-in Center and Morningside Shelter. I'd like to have you hear a little bit about the work that they do at their respective locations, because again, we often hear comments from people, we didn't know you did all that. So, Lucy.
Today. I have heard many times when I've talked to groups that nobody knows what the Brattleboro Area Drop-in Center does. Well, we opened our doors in May of 1988 in Harmony parking lot, and at that time we were basically dealing with homelessness just so that they could have basic services like phone service, get their mail there, receive phone calls, various other things that they couldn't do while they were on the streets because cell phones really were not that prominent at that time. Since then, we've evolved into having a food shelf. And our food shelf is the second largest in the state. We deliver food to 25 homebound families or individuals. Since July of last year through April of this year, we gave out 27,336 bags of groceries, and we've seen 12,463 people come through our food shelf. When we first opened the food shelf many years ago, they only gave out 43 bags of groceries in a month. So we see our demand increasing. It's not decreasing at all. It just keeps on increasing. We have collaborated with the Vermont Food Bank and also with the Brattleboro Co-op in helping us with taste testings to teach clients about how to cook new vegetables that they've never seen before. And that has been a huge success for us because we're getting so much feedback from the clients saying that they really appreciate the fact that we're introducing them to new vegetables. We also too with the co-op, we've done some cooking classes, and in the future I hope to be able to offer more cooking classes to our low-income families. At Christmas time last year, we gave out 433 Christmas baskets feeding over 1,600 people. And at Thanksgiving, we did 522 baskets feeding over 1,700 family members. So our demands are increasing constantly. We operate the emergency shelter. We are no longer in the Baptist church, so I can't say that's where it's at right now. But this past year, we opened on May 2nd and November 2nd and closed May 1st. We saw 196 unduplicated people. That is up from the winter before. We had 4,500 bed nights. We served well over 5,000 hot meals to those clients at the shelter. Without the help of the interfaith clergy and all the local support from various groups in the community, those meals would not have been able to be served. So I'm truly grateful for the support that we get from the community when it comes to the shelter. We also offer case management, which helps our clients achieve both short-term and long-term stability in their lives. We have specialized case management helping them with housing through Shelter Plus Care vouchers or from the Department of Mental Health Housing Plus Care vouchers. For me today, this is a mixed emotion because I've been involved with the Drop-in Center for almost 15 years or a little over 15 years, starting off as a board member, becoming a volunteer, then a staff member. So I feel like something is going to be cut off from me, but yet I'm excited about the new company. I just think that for us, it's a birth of an era in Brattleboro where we can really enhance our services and our programs and maybe even create brand new programs to help our clients. I know that we've talked about a single entry, and we know that the Drop-in Center might be that point. So for us, this is all brand new and really exciting. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out today. Now that we're here, it's really emotional. I have a lot of emotions going through me today, so thanks for being here. So Morningside has been in existence for 35 years. Our services have evolved to include the shelter. Where we serve 120 people a year. About a quarter of those are children under the age of 18. We provide intensive case management services to move people from the shelter back into the community. We also provide housing support, case management, to work with folks once they transition back into the community, and then representative payee services. So what you've heard from myself and from Lucy is what we as two individual organizations have been doing for a number of years. Lucy and I both started at our respective organizations about 3 years ago. Soon after, the United Way brought us together to talk about how we could work more closely together. And from there, representatives from the board and Lucy and I met on and off over the next 2+ years with the intent of getting to know each other better, but also figuring out how we can work more closely as two organizations. An example of that idea is the Camp for a Common Cause, which is a joint fundraiser that grew out of those discussions. It benefits both organizations. It's held near the time of when the overflow shelter closes so that we can raise awareness about homelessness in Brattleboro. Just so happens that 1 week from today is this year's camp, the 3rd annual. We hope to see you out there. But it wasn't all easy conversation. Each organization has worked diligently in the community for decades, and this idea of merger is not a new one. As much as I want to, Lucy and I can't take full credit for the merging of these two organizations. There are many that came before us, and we're building on their work. We slowly and methodically worked through some of the past issues with one another, got to know each other better, and started to build trust. As we talked about the future, we came to realize, like Carla said, that 1 and 1 really makes 3. And so key points that we identified is a single point of entry for services, a unified continuum of services within one organization that stretches from street outreach, emergency shelter, to transitional and supportive housing, all the way through to permanent housing. Increased specialization of programming so that we can offer additional and more impactful services, shared office spaces, combined and refined development efforts, and reduced overhead and economy of scale. Not to mention the fact of more political influence to help change the factors that underlie what we are dealing with as an organization and what the folks that we serve are dealing with on a daily basis. Again, we collected all this feedback from clients, staff, community members, funders. It just makes good sense, so we push forward. This past summer and early fall, we got to experience what one of my dear friends has pointed out is syzygy. It's a great word, syzygy. In astronomy, syzygy is when the planets align. So we were pecking around the edges for a while, and all of a sudden it just hit that now is the time. The pace picked up, this merger process picked up momentum all on its own, and here we are today, able to announce a new organization. From the fall, we have a strategic plan that is just about ready to be released. We have identified and are working on options to expand our physical capacity to meet the need. Our board of directors have unified. We are beginning to streamline and unify our internal processes, and we have signed the legal documents to make this happen. We've also come up with a new name. While we are extremely proud and connected to the history and the legacy of our organizations, this is a new organization. This is a new venture, and the name of our new organization is it's Groundworks Collaborative. The ground is solid footing, but it's also a place to grow. Works. Everyone involved in this organization, from clients to staff and the community, are working for change and a better way forward. Collaborative. It honors the fact that the two organizations have a long history of coming together, but also if we are going to be successful in our efforts for change, we are going to have to collaborate. Groundworks Collaborative is who we are. This logo is made up of building blocks, which are meant to represent the diverse programs and services that we offer. Our name will run through these programs. Food works, housing works, support works, job works, and change works will be the ways that we create change in this community. We've worked diligently the last few months, and we're going to be working even harder over the next few. To do this, it's costing money. We estimated at the beginning of this process it was going to be about $100,000. I'm pleased to report that to date, because of the generous support of the Thompson Trust, Office of Economic Opportunity, Vermont Community Foundation, the Wyndham Foundation, our board members, community members, and the United Way, we've raised just about $80,000 towards this goal. Our aim is to finish that up by July 1, so we are still working diligently on that. So even though we are aligning our organizations, we are coming up with a new name, our services will remain the same. There will be no interruptions in the services that we provide. Shelter, food shelf, case management services are in high demand, unreasonably high demand, and we will continue to operate them as they are right now. At the same time, we will be evolving as an organization, and there will be changes coming down the line over the next few months and years. Before I pass the mic on, I would like to thank the board for all of their support. They've been great, and most importantly, the staff. The staff are unbelievable. We have an amazing team, and I'm so very proud of each and every staff member. Organizational change is a very difficult process, and the staff have been amazingly resilient and supportive throughout this whole process, so thank you very much. If I can keep it together, there'll be some time at the end for questions and answers. And I would thank my wife, but if I start, it would not be good.
Thank you, John.
So we've invited some people to say a few words today, people that have been really helpful in this whole process. First off is Paul Dragon from the Office of Economic Opportunity. Paul has been a great supporter of the work that we're doing and is someone that I see as a partner in addressing these issues of homelessness. He's also a great guy, and despite what you hear about state bureaucracy, he's doing his best to work around it. So without further ado, Paul Dragon.
Just for the record, I am from the state, but Josh said I could take off my tie, so it's over there. Don't let me forget it. I felt strange walking around Brattleboro with the tie on anyway. I want to thank Josh and Lucy, the board of directors, and the staff for bringing this together. This is an uncommon and extraordinary moment in the nonprofit world, where two organizations come together, leave aside the relative safety and security of their own organizations to develop something better, more powerful, and more creative for their community and for the people they serve. Now, I just came from the New England Community Action Conference, and Mark Schreiber was there, the son of Sergeant Schreiber. And Sergeant Schreiber, for those of you who don't know, is just a great man. He passed away a while ago, but he established the Peace Corps, along with, he was a catalyst for many, many other programs. Now, I know Josh was in the Peace Corps, and I was in the Peace Corps, and it was in the Peace Corps that I learned, I started to learn some things, some dynamics about poverty. And I also started to learn what makes organizations succeed and what makes organizations fail. I was in Mali, West Africa, one of the poorest countries in the world, in a village in the Manding Mountains. And I was frankly horrified by the malnutrition and the hunger that I saw. And I thought I'd try to do something about it. And I heard about growth monitoring programs, baby weighing programs essentially. And so I went out, got some funding, I bought a scale, and we got cards for the women to monitor the growth of their children. And we hung our scale from a baobab branch in the center of the village, and for about a month, the women came and we weighed their babies, and then soon after that, they simply stopped coming, and every day I'd find a new card at my hut. They gave their cards back, because who wants to weigh their children if we can't do anything about feeding them? It was a rookie mistake that I made. And I looked around and saw that I wasn't the only one making those kind of mistakes. There were these pumps, well pumps, put throughout all the villages up in the mountains. Great pumps with concrete covering the well, pumps that, you know, they wouldn't have to draw the water from, they just draw it with a pump. They were all broken, because the very well-established development program that was doing this work did not provide anything for spare parts, and they provided no training for the people that were in the village to run the pumps. Now, I see that a lot with organizations. Organizations that don't take the long-term view, they look for quick fixes, and they don't involve the community and their solutions. So in fact, we were doing the exact opposite of what Groundworks Collaborative is doing here today. For organizations to merge like this, they've got to ask themselves some really, really hard questions. Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Now that seems like an obvious question, but a lot of organizations don't work like that. They focus on what they do and not why they do it. And if you don't focus on why you are doing your work, you end up with wells that don't solve the problem of drought and waterborne diseases. You end up with baby weighing programs that do nothing about malnutrition. And you end up with homeless shelters that don't lead to housing. Groundworks is charting out a path today, and I'll take a quote from their draft strategic plan because I think it's a wonderful quote. It's a wonderful goal. What's going to keep them on this road is a consensus between their clients, the people they serve, their staff, and the community. That is really powerful. They will be successful if they maintain that consensus. There's a Welsh proverb that says, to be a leader, you need to be a bridge. I want to thank Lucy and Josh for being incredible bridges at a time when so many leaders create roadblocks. Josh is a visionary. He's an amazing leader. And I can't say enough about Lucy. When I was down here at the warming shelter at the church over the winter, I asked Lucy what she did when volunteers don't show up. And she just said, I stay over there. And that's what kind of person she is. Martin Buber, a theologian, he talks about empathy in this way. You can have two types of relationships. You can have a relationship with an I and an it. That's when you see yourself very separate from the other person or the other thing in front of you. And the I and thou. And that's when you see yourself in the other person. I think you have two leaders here with a great deal of empathy, and they see themselves in other people and can walk in their shoes, and that is a very rare thing. So, just to close, when my daughter, she's 16 now, was just a kid, and I remember she saw her first person who was experiencing homelessness. She grabbed my arm and she demanded, she said, do something. We're all going to be called to account to do something for our children and our grandchildren if we can't solve the problem of homelessness in one of the richest countries in the world. I think Groundworks is well on their way. They're doing something for today. They're doing something for tomorrow. And I think it's quite extraordinary, so congratulations to all of you.
Our next speaker is Whitney Nichols. Whitney is an amazing advocate and is on a great number of committees both at the state and local level addressing issues of poverty, homelessness, and mental health services. I very much have enjoyed getting to know Whitney on our rides up to Randolph. I'm very pleased that he's here this morning to share his perspective and insights. Whitney Nichols.
I decided, I debated whether I was going to wear a tie or not. Fortunately, I decided not to. Wow, this place is this is such a very different time and space here, isn't it? It's just amazing looking around, and this wasn't here 2 years ago. I've had the good fortune of seeing the Brattleboro community come together for this. I want to share a little bit about my own personal experience, however. From about 2000 to 2005, I dealt with bouts of homelessness. I had co-occurring conditions, and I've actually recognized now, as I'm more in my recovery, that I, over many years, have experienced homelessness, both and abandonment, both in infancy and childhood. My chronology in terms of the exact dates of things is still confusing to me sometimes. I dealt with multiple crises. I had a very difficult time accessing services, for example, dealing with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, disability, housing. These are all issues that were completely up in the air. I was in crisis. I first went to Morningside, and I needed help and support, and I was denied those services then. And what a long way we've come since then. I didn't access the services that I really needed. Accessing services, what I needed was case management and advocacy. I wasn't able to get those sorts of services until I finally faced and had the courage to go to the drop-in center. I remember in the past driving past the drop-in center and not even being able to look toward it. So much for the stigma of mental illness and homelessness and substance abuses. I was still using alcohol when I did receive the services at the drop-in center, but it was still an important time for me to kind of get the services that I needed, the support I needed, and I could begin to deal with some of my other personal issues. I'm fortunate, I think, that I've learned patience and resilience and persistence. It's a miracle that I'm still here, but I consider it a large part of this due to my faith. I've experienced going through difficult transitions and getting supported housing that I needed. I remember a dreadful experience living in a substantial, costly motel. I faced eviction over a Christmas holiday because I wasn't able to pay my rent. This was before I accessed Social Security disability. We're so fortunate during these times of technology and information, and this is very important that we have some of these benefits now that we didn't have previously. I feel as though I'm also have the good fortune of my professional background as an educator. I now, fortunately, I have supportive housing, Shelter Plus Care it's called, and I've also signed up for Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, and I've also I have my name in now for the Section 8 voucher for housing. And what I'd like to be able to do is to be housing supports that don't require as intensive kinds of supports, so I can open up my Shelter Plus Care position to somebody else who needs it more than I do. The significance of this merger, I think, is really incredible. I think what it's going to do is going to help us to streamline delivery of services. We know more now, and we need to do not either, but both. And that's what people are talking about here today. Lucy and Josh and I went many rides to state functions together, state meetings, and this is where we begin to formulate the possibility of a merger. And so I've been fortunate as a consumer representative. I've been able to be on the drop-in center board. When my term expired a year ago, I left that board, but I've been invited to come back to the board, the new board, which is a real privilege for me to be able to do that and to be well enough in my recovery to be able to focus and be able to do that. And it's basically giving back a little bit of what I received. And basically, one of my main messages, I think, as I want to present for people who are here today, that there is hope, and it is possible for people to recover from mental health challenges and substance use and deal with homelessness. And when we have the supports in place, then we can finally begin to heal and maybe to share with others. And in fact, I think one of the most important things I learned from the Drop-in Center board membership was community service. In closing, I think the future direction, there's a couple of areas that are really, really important, I think, that we need to focus on. I alluded to a reduction of stigma and discrimination. To this day, I still experience self-stigmatization as a result of social sort of values. And I think we also need to open up and be open and talk about our experiences honestly. And I think through doing that, we can share and put a name with a face, and then you can get to know that we're real people. And so I think we're going to be able to do that through education. So I've really, as I said, this has been a great opportunity for me to come before you, and I'm really glad I didn't wear a tie.
So we wanted to bring a couple different perspectives to this conversation today. The state perspective, consumer, also a community partner. And I'm pleased that Connie Snow is here She and I have been working hard in recent months to figure out new and creative ways for our organizations to work together. Also, as a nonprofit leader, she is someone that has forged a path of how to run a strong, stable, and effective organization. I'm very excited about the potential for Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and Groundworks, and I'm thankful that she's here today. Connie Smith.
I'll be very brief. We've been a partner of Morningside Shelters and the Drop-in Center for many years, so we're really happy to be here to celebrate with you today. Some of you may remember that we had a merger of our own 4 years ago, and it was actually almost to this day, I think May 11th, 4 years ago. And before that merger, I was talking to a colleague of mine, someone I respect in Burlington, and kind of sharing some of my concerns about possibly losing the small grassroots quality that we had had. And she said to me, and I haven't forgotten, she said, it's not about size. She said, we owe it to our residents and our clients to be strong. And they're counting on us to be strong. So I know this merger today is going to create one really strong organization. That's great news for the community, and we're really excited about our collaboration with Groundworks, this new organization. So congratulations to Lucy and Josh, your staffs, your board. We're really looking forward to working with you.
Finally, we've been talking at the individual, community, and state level, but the reality is all of these are heavily dependent upon what happens in Washington. I'm grateful that Vermont has an extremely supportive congressional delegation. I'm happy to introduce Kate Ash, who is here on behalf of Senator Leahy.
My name is Kate Ash, and I work as a field representative on behalf of Senator Leahy, and lots of familiar faces in the room today. And I know that we've had the pleasure of communicating over the years and months about some of the innovative strategies that have been taking place in this community to talk about the breadth of services that you all offer. So I just wanted to say, first of all, I was joking with Lucy a little bit before we were kind of talking about, what this all means and how she must feel after all these years. And she said, if I may say so, I sort of feel like I'm losing a part of me, like my arm or my leg or something. And I said, well, but you're getting a new bionic arm. It's going to be a new bionic something. So, and isn't that true? I think that today is such an opportunity. I'm going to move this just a little bit. So some of you may be wondering, and Josh sort of alluded to this, what role does Senator Patrick Leahy have in today's announcement? And first of all, thank you for the opportunity for him to participate in this congratulatory event. For the past 40 years, Senator Leahy's been working to secure funding for the state of Vermont, and we've seen programs like $400 million for the development of affordable housing through community development. And he's also working to address those 67,000 vouchers that were lost as a result of sequestration. You all know what I'm talking about. And he's working to secure Section 811, HOPWA, and of course the Emergency Solutions Grants. But just like all of those funding streams, we must work together as providers. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to the services that people need as well. It's not only the housing stock that we have available or the affordability, it's how to make sure that each and every individual that walks through the Drop-in Center, Morningside Shelter, or now Groundworks Collaborative is getting that one-size-fits-all approach as well. Senator Leahy hears from Vermonters every day, truly every single day, and I talked with our caseworkers first thing this morning to get an updated number. In the last 20 years, we have over 23,000 incoming cases from Vermonters who are seeking help with permanent, safe, and affordable housing. 23,000. And the problems that they're talking about are not news or strange to you. They're issues with cash flow, of course, or issues with relationships with neighbors, or perhaps landlords, as many of you know. Or perhaps it's housekeeping or hygiene. And so a lot of my work, and I've met with many of you in the room, has been traveling Vermont to learn about what's working and what's not working. And I've come to two conclusions that I just want to briefly share. The reality is that Vermont advocates are doing incredible, groundbreaking, nationally recognized work. They really, really are. for share this morning about the food bank, how many food boxes have been given out, the innovative partnerships with programs like the retreat. It's all incredible advocacy. And the second reality is that these are really hard economic times and organizations are struggling. And Senator Leahy has a strong commitment to our nonprofit organizations, and more importantly, the Vermonters that they serve. And so the reality is that within those economic times, it does take innovative, bold new approaches, just like Groundworks Collaborative. The partnerships seem like the ones here today, and I've talked with Josh quite a bit about this. It really is a model. And so today, I have one request for folks, and that is, as this continues to work, as we continue to see the outcomes of these kinds of partnerships, as Paul and others at the state and some of our other local partners are working to really create and foster these unique collaborations to meet these unique needs, keep us informed. Let us know. It's our job to make sure that you have the resources to be able to do what you do best. And I just want to say one thing. First of all, is one more congratulations to Josh and to Lucy for their leadership. I have a mentee who's just finishing her first year in high school, lucky gal. And she and I were talking a couple of months ago, and she was sharing with me a letter that she had to write for her social studies class about an issue that was important. She was giving this long list, and she chose to write about homelessness. And I said, oh, so what are you going to write? You know, I'm thinking, oh, I can talk to her about this. I know some of this stuff. She says, why even bother? Nobody's doing anything. People are homeless. What are we supposed to do about that? No one's going to read my letter. And my heart sunk. And I thought to myself, how can we educate our young people? How can we get them engaged? And so this kind of community organization and rallying behind this kind of innovative change, you are doing something. And I'm so proud to be able to be here and congratulate that for you today. So thank you once again, and congratulations.
So that's our program. This is who we are. This is what we're up to. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. I have collected myself. If there are any broad questions that folks would like to ask, I'd be happy. Yes, no.
Good morning, Tim Johnson, WTSA. Has there been any decision about where services will be delivered? And obviously, in consolidation, 2 campuses are much more expensive than 1.
2 campuses are more expensive than 1, that's true, and we have campuses that aren't fitting the need right now, quite frankly. And so, on the beginning, services are not going to get interrupted. So where they're being provided now, they will continue to be provided for the near-term future. At the same time, as an organization, we're looking at new locations, and we're not really sure what that looks like right now. But as soon as we know, you will know, and we'll put the word out there. But we totally understand that we're not meeting the need as effectively as we can in terms of physical location or size. Yes, hold up.
Are there any rollouts or timeframes we can expect as benchmarks that you have in place?
We have a strategic plan that is in draft form that we are wrapping up rapidly. July 1, we kind of have a soft opening between now and July 1st, which is the start of our fiscal year. So July 1 is what we really see as the start date. And with that, we will put our strategic plan, which in essence is our commitment to what we're going to be doing over the next 3 years. Next 3 years are included in that. So we'll definitely distribute that. Over the next few months, you'll hear a lot from us because we want to make sure that everybody knows who Groundworks is, what Groundworks is doing. So we're definitely keeping you informed. Howard.
We have titles for Josh, for Lucy?
We have titles. We're working Executive Director and Associate Director for Lucy. Jed.
Is there a community celebration planned at next week's Camp for a Common Cause event?
1 week from today at 4 o'clock is Camp for a Common Cause. That's a what was the question? Is there a community celebration event planned 1 week from today at 4 o'clock at the Brattleboro Common? There is a community celebration planned. The Camp for a Common Cause this year, we're seeing as a celebration for Groundworks Collaborative. We're going to have food, we're going to have music. It is a fundraiser, but we're going to be out there. Please come and join us. Everyone. So with that, thank you very much for coming out this morning. Thank you.
Can I get this out for you guys? Yeah. Cool. Beautiful. Oh, it's great. Right here.
Hi, my name is Martha, and this is my daughter Samantha, and we've been homeless. We've been homeless, it was a little over 2 years. And when we become homeless, we didn't know what to do. We had 2 little children, my grandchildren, and we went from a camper to the outside to just about anywhere we could. Staying here and staying there, staying with people we didn't even know. But for most of all, you know, we did stay in a camper, and they didn't want us to stay there all year long. So they kicked us out of there, and we went and we met up with Morningside Center, and they were taking care of the babies because they were delayed. And they also had a program for trying to get us in shelters or something. So we took on Emily Clever, which was in the Morningside Center, and she was terrific. She like knew us, like just knew us. And we went to the shelter at the transitional. We were there for 10 months, and as she was working with us, which she had been working with us for over a year by then, we were asked to go to a meeting at Wyndham and Windsor Housing. When we went to Windsor and Windsor Housing, they said, hopefully this apartment will be ready very soon. And you know, we were already in the shelter for 10 months, and we really didn't have hope, you know, that was going to happen. What happened was September 18th, I think it was, or right around there, we checked out this apartment and said, if this gets done in time, maybe you'll be in it for October or November, whenever it gets done. This is your apartment. And we just said, okay. We didn't know one way or the other. But as today, October 3rd, we went into a home, and we don't have to worry. We went into a forever home. And if it wasn't for Josh at the shelter, Emily Clever, and the Wyndham and Windsor Housing, we probably still would be in the shelter and not providing very well, because we didn't have anything at the time. And now we do. We have a home, forever home. My daughter was working at the time, the whole time this was going on, but it didn't help. She lost her job. We didn't know what we were going to do. And we went and I went for general assistance because I am disabled. I have a lot of problems. And we didn't know what we were going to do, so we went to Voc Rehab. Voc Rehab got involved also through Josh at the shelter and Emily Clever at Winston Prouty. They hooked us up with the Voc Rehab. Voc Rehab helped me get my Social Security. So now we have my Social Security, and before that even went through, and when she lost her job, well, we paid very little, and now we're going to pay a little bit more. But what they do is they put that, you can sign up for another program, and when our rent goes up, the rent that went up goes in an escrow account. And in 5 years, if you meet all the criterias for them, you get that money back, and we probably will be buying our own home. So
That's with Telma.
Yep. We also got hooked up with Telma. What was it called?
I don't remember.
Telma is part of the state level for Section 8. And that's what we're on in this house now. But we do have a forever home, and we don't have to worry anymore. And we thank Josh, Emily, Tim, which is Tim. He's a wonderful manager, is he? Housing manager. And Vermont Housing Trust, and the Wyndham and Windsor Housing, or else we'd still probably be on the street. Thank you very much.